This is my truth. Tell me the truth. Tell me my truth. Tell me what the truth feels like. This is my truth.
Hello everybody, welcome to this Fishing for the Truth, and a very warm welcome today to my guest. Let me say this name correctly.
Give it a go, give it a go.
Julie Hesmondhalgh.
Well done.
Oh,
Yes,
thanks.
very good.
Much loved and respected actor, and I'm sure it's so nice to meet you. Really lovely to meet you.
Soon, yeah.
I'm sure that the people watching and anybody listening in the podcast is going to recognise your face and your voice from the many roles that you played on television and on stage. I could sit here and kind of list everything you've done like a CV, but I don't know how you feel. I feel that the roles that we take on in life, or the labels we're given, whether it's what we do for a living, or sister, mother, brother, friend, whatever that label is, I don't feel personally that they define who we are.
Absolutely.
I think it's how we choose to move through the world that says something about us.
Yeah.
And today what we're here to talk about is something that I think speaks volumes about the kind of person you are. So let's just delve straight in. You set up, it went live at the beginning of this year, a fundraising charitable group called 500 Acts of Kindness that you set up with a gentleman called Chris Malvern.
Yeah.
So let's tell everybody, who is Chris Malvern, how did the idea come about, and what is 500 Acts of Kindness?
Well, it's I stole the idea actually, or rather it was gifted to me by another actor called Joel Sims, who was in Broadchurch.
Right.
And he set up this group called 500 Reasons, so it's completely his brainchild. And he had the idea to get 500 people to join the group and donate £1 a week into like a standing order. And then they have £500 a week to give away, and there's a little community of them. I think with Joel's group there's about 5 of them.
Okay.
And every week they look at the nominations. If you're part of the group, you can nominate somebody or an organisation or a family, whoever could do with 500 quid basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I was part of this group. He asked me to join, and I did. And 500 Reasons is a little bit more strict than we are. So they close the door at 500.
Okay.
So now and again people give a little bit extra. So they sometimes have like a sluice fund that they can give extra to. But we whoever wants to join, we've let them. So I think we've got more than 500 people in.
Over 1,000 now.
I think it might be just short of that, maybe. I'm not quite sure,
Okay.
because some people give more than £1 a week, and some
Right.
people. So I'm not completely sure, which is a very typical way of dealing with things for me. It's like, oh yeah, whatever, join in, whatever. So we set up this account, and it probably took about 6 to 8 weeks to get the requisite amount of people, and then we set up, and it's just been, and as you know, Nia, because you're a part of it, it's an astonishing thing. And it was just me at first, and then I have a friend called Chris, who I was at Accrington College with on the drama course way back in the day, back in 86, 87. Right. And Chris didn't end up being an actor. He went off and did loads of other things, like working in sort of social care and working with care leavers and that kind of work. And he's not working at the moment. And I knew he'd be a really good person. I knew he'd be somebody who'd just get stuff done with minimum of force, and they had a little bit of time on his hands, and a bit of purpose would be good for him, you know, as it is for us all. So, Chris, if you're watching, I'm making it out like I'm doing you a massive favour. Yeah, because it's like really well like that, isn't it? But he's just brilliant, and it just instinctively I thought Chris is the person to do this. So it's just the two of us. And everyone who's part of the group has our email address, and they're free to nominate every week. And so the people that we've had nominated, we've never, I don't think, turned anyone away. Sometimes we have to wait a few weeks. If we have multiple nominations, we have to sort of wait a few weeks for them to come through. But I think in the first week we had a refugee family who'd had some bikes stolen. So they had 3 children, young children, and their bikes had been nicked, and so they were really struggling. And so someone in the group just donated some bikes that their children had outgrown.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's not only just money sometimes.
Absolutely.
We'll be asking for maybe electrical goods or whatever people can give. There was that one lady who offered free counselling.
Yeah.
to the mother who'd fled her home with her children because of the abuse.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know. People can't do enough actually, and then secretly every week people get in touch saying like, I'd like to give that person a microwave, I'd like to give that person a washing machine, can you give me the details and I'll get one sent to their house. We have people saying I'm an expert in this field, is there any sort of housing advice I can give to this person? Because what's really clear, there's no rules to who is nominated,
right.
But we've had young people whose parent has died unexpectedly and they have no money for the funeral.
Right.
So we've raised money to pay for the funerals for people's parents, which is just heartbreaking, and children. We had a lovely Greek woman who had lived here for years and was really ensconced in her community, who suddenly was told that she couldn't be here anymore, and there was a whole sort of mess up with the benefits, and she lost her home, and she got somewhere, but it was like very, very poorly maintained, as privately rented places often are, and she had nothing, and everybody pitched in there. We had somebody who was seeking asylum who'd come from Iran, who'd criticised the government and who came here and who had nothing.
Right.
So we gave her some cash, but we also found a craft workshop run by women really near to where she lived that she could walk to, where she could go and join in, because that was something she was passionate about in order for her to make friends.
Yeah.
So it has been incredible, and we're at the stage now where, because we have so many members, with so many people paying a little bit extra or whatever, that very often we can do double payments.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have organisations that are already set up. I have my own, Chris and I have our own sort of private way of, I suppose, prioritising need.
Right.
So if somebody is caught in the horrific draconian benefit system that unfortunately is existing at the moment, people often fall into the benefits trap because of universal credit, because you have this break where you don't get any money and people can't afford to feed the kids.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely terrible. So that £500 then just makes this huge world of difference. It just enables someone to breathe more easily. Same with people waiting for the PIP assessments to come through.
So urgency of need would be something maybe that
Things
determines
like that. Yes.
choose that week.
Yeah. People. If you fall behind with your council tax payments, the councils get bailiffs in straight away now. So immediately, your debt doubles and then doubles again. And so before you know it, you're in horrific debt just from defaulting on one payment. And that could be because one week your washing machine's broken or something essential.
Yeah.
We had somebody who was crashed into by a lady, and who couldn't pay the damage, and her insurance would only pay a certain amount, and she was in a state, and so the people she'd crashed into nominated her because they thought so bad for her, and so we paid for the damage of the car that she couldn't, and we paid for day trips for very poorly parents who just haven't been able to take the kids out. So we've adapted a garden for a wheelchair using child, given. But sometimes we have crowdfunders given to us, or GoFundMes that already exist, and sometimes they're already nearly at the target. So sometimes it's a lovely thing to just get them over the final finishing mark. But sometimes if there's a lot of money in it, you think, well, do you know what? They've obviously got a lot of people in their lives who love them and who are really mobilising to help them, and maybe they don't need our help as much as this person who's really isolated, maybe just arrived, who's a refugee perhaps, and who really, really needs that. So we have somebody amongst our group who works for a housing association in Greater Manchester. So a lot of people she knows who need things. So she had someone who's a brilliant seamstress but needed an overlocker, so we could buy an overlocker for her. And then we had two guys, a probation officer who's part of our list. I had two guys who'd been finally housed, but they didn't have anything, and they were really bored, and they were just sitting around the flat, and there was a temptation for them to get back into sort of quite antisocial behaviour because they had a flat, but that was it. So we got them bedding and a telly, and just enabling them to start their life again, and
things that we just take for granted, don't we?
Completely
Without meaning to, but you just do, you know.
And it's a real wake-up call to the real hard existence that people are enduring at the moment, especially in the climate that we're living in now. But also it's incredibly heartwarming, and just the tonic. I mean, you know, when that email comes through every week, you just go, it's £1. It's not even the price of a cup of tea, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's like, and all this is possible because of it.
Yeah.
Like last week, I think we gave to, there was the week before, Lem Sissay, who is a poet and Chancellor of the University of Manchester, who's a care leaver. And he set up this amazing charity that's Christmas for care leavers. So once you leave the care system, once you've been in foster care, you know, you're let out into the world, you know, with very little support, and Christmas can be a really desperate time for care leavers. So he set up this incredible organisation where they have these big Christmas dinners all over the UK where people can come, and it's like top drawer stuff, you know, beautiful meal, proper presents. And it takes a lot of funding, so we were able to give some money to that last week, or £500 gave it to that. So it's not just individuals; it's like it's organisations that are supporting people as well, because you know,
absolutely,
you don't need it.
Has it impacted you at all since you started this group? I mean, I know that I was watching an interview that you did at the beginning of this year on This Morning with Eamon and Ruth, and I think it was Eamon who'd said to you, "What makes you tick?" And you said, I might be paraphrasing, something to the effect of, "I believe we're all here to make the world a better place." So clearly that's already intrinsically part of who you are as a person. But even so, since you started this group, has it changed you in any way, or?
Well, I suppose, I mean, I think I've got to be a bit careful with it, because it's so little effort, actually. I mean, it takes so little. You know, I look at the nominations. Usually I can go, I think we can upload these this week, Chris. What do you think? Maybe 250 to that organisation. You know, this week there's like a pre-loved organisation who passes on pre-loved items to vulnerable young parents who don't have anything. And they're always really short of safety gates, and so they have to fundraise for that. They can't get pre-loved ones of those. So we gave them £250 so they could get a load of those in for people asking for them. And so I said, okay, we can give a bit to that, and then 500 to this art centre that's moving home, that, you know, works with vulnerable people. And that's as hard as it gets. Just going, like, it's a bit like playing God, because you kind of go, I bestow this money on you,
but you're still having to read.
Yeah,
some of the stories.
It is, but I've got to be careful that I'm not playing God. That I'm not feeling, and I mean this sincerely. That I think that sometimes you can do something like this, and I'm really proud of it. And I get a massive sense of achievement and pride from it. But I think I've just got to watch myself, that I'm like, well, I do that, so that's my good thing, when actually it's very little effort. You know, there's people running these organisations that we're giving money to who are just working at the cold face of it 24/7, and
so it's not feeding your ego. It's not.
Well, I've got to watch that. It could really easily.
Yeah, it's an interesting point.
Completely, and I think if you should always sort of be mindful of, like, why you're doing things, and what and not enjoying the kudos of it too much, because I do. Do you know what I mean? When people go like, "Oh, it's a great thing," it gives me a thing, and I think that's fine as long as you keep your eye on it, and that I'm not sort of not getting in a position where, I mean, I've never had to choose. Sometimes I've delayed payments, but I've never had to go, right, this person over this person. I've never had to do Sophie's choice. Yes, that could come, and that's when it'll be a painful thing.
Right.
But it's very little effort for maximum reward, and I think we all feel like that.
Absolutely.
Of it. But you know, I walked to this afternoon through the tunnel at Charing Cross, and I saw, you know, all the homeless people lying there in Manchester. It's a massive issue as well, and there was this man sort of checking a young man who was lying on the floor. And he was very still, and I said to this man, you know, is he okay? And he was like, yeah, he's okay, he's breathing, if that's what okay is. And I said, I know. And he said, look at him, he's a baby, look at his face, he's a little boy, you know, he's somebody's son, and he's here what is wrong with us. And this man had been an asylum seeker from Eritrea, the man who I was talking to.
Right.
And he said, I've had a bad time, but nothing compared to this. This breaks my heart. And it's that kind of compassion that of someone who's been through a huge and difficult time themselves that makes you sit up and really think, because you walk past those people and it becomes normal to you. It becomes normal to you to see homeless people.
Yeah, you become desensitised almost, don't you?
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've got to do something about it. You know, it's like, and I don't want to be a person who walks past and scurries past because I can't engage with every single one, you know, and it's those things that sit heavy on my heart, and I don't think for 1 second that me sitting on my phone on a Friday going like, oh, I'm like, I'll transfer £500 to you, oh, and you'll be so grateful and happy that it's anything other than a tiny little sticking plaster over a huge gaping wound that is the way that our society fails vulnerable people every single day. And that's a fact, you know, and that has to change.
Absolutely. And it is tiny, I do agree with that, but then we also know that for that person that's being helped in that moment,
huge.
It's massive.
Huge.
It's
I mean,
absolutely
there's
massive.
that documentary this week that I haven't seen yet, but my friend told me that there was a woman on it and who needed £600. You know, that would have made everything okay for her. You know, and that was an impossible dream for her. You know, trying to bring up children, waiting for universal credit, the usual. Just like living in absolute desperation because of austerity and because of, like, you know, the way that the system now just like penalises people. And, you know, £600, we could give her that if she had the access to us. You know, it's like, it's having the luck of knowing somebody who knows the group, or knows me, or knows Chris, or knows you know, who has that way in, that we can do that. And it's, but yeah, there's a lovely Emerson quote that I love that's, that if you can, I'm completely paraphrasing, but it's something like, if you can make the world a little bit better by a garden patch, a healthy child, or making one person breathe more easily, you know, I think that's what we do. You know,
absolutely.
I think it's a tonic that we all need to feel that people are intrinsically good. And when we see people just like clamouring to help, even the comments on the Facebook page, even people just going like, oh, you know, Auntie Una in Northern Ireland with her pulmonary fibrosis, good luck, I hope you're alright. You know, that is just a massive thing, you know, for the person who's nominated that organisation to read and to feel that love and care, and people just taking the time just to put a little comment. It's like, you think it's meaningless, but actually it means a lot to the people that you're helping. And
it's tricky because I have to watch my, bit like what you were just saying, I have to watch myself as well, because I mean, they say there's no such thing as a selfless good deed, and I do get an awful lot of don't know how to describe it. When that weekly email comes, it does so many things in one moment for me. It widens my world and perspective of it, because it shows me windows into other people's lives. It also makes my world feel a lot smaller because of the shared humanity and the empathy for other people. And so it's gratifying, for want of a better word, in the way that it makes me take stock of my own life and count my blessings, which is something we should always do anyway.
Well, completely. I mean,
but it's at the cost of
happiness. Actually, it's like,
it's absolutely
it's gratitude and connection, and it's all about connection, you know. And it's like, and from this, you know, and it's from 500 Reasons, you know, originally. And Joel's just such a beautiful human being, you know, and he's still doing it in his posts, you know, because I'm part of that group as well. So, you know, there's a whole other community going on there, and you know, and from that has spawned our group and some others. There's one in Sheffield that's struggling to get enough members, 500 together. But they, you know, they've made their first payouts. They just have to do it every few weeks because it's taking a bit longer. But they're doing it, you know, and it's like, and if we can get these going everywhere, it's just those little sort of connections. I think that's a beautiful way of putting it, that you put it, that it makes you feel like that, but also just opens your eyes.
Yeah, I think it's so important for everybody to really look around.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me think of, okay, I'm a complete technophobe, but I think I'll explain it in just very
You run a podcast, it sounds brilliant.
very simplistic, in a very simplistic way. I was watching an interview between Barack Obama and David Letterman from a couple of years ago, and Obama was talking about algorithms. So to put it simply, on social media, if you're following or looking for certain types of articles or a certain type of narrative, those will then be the kind of adverts or snippets of new narrative that come in for you to see. So if you already have a preconceived kind of bias, then those things that are then shown to you feed that biased opinion.
Yeah. Or you just have to look at my Facebook to know that. I mean, my world's wonderful. It's like...
But then people end up living in a bubble.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Where are we now? We're Wednesday, the 4th of December 2019. Next week is a general election. Algorithms are, I mean, if ever they play out, it's in election time.
Yeah.
And so you're very aware that for some people, maybe most of us, you might only be seeing a certain type of narrative and a certain view of the world, and then you buy into that.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think 500 Acts of Kindness does so beautifully, without even trying to do it, is it makes your peripheral just open way up.
And it's and as well, it's an act of faith, because when we set it up, you know, not so much on Facebook where, you know, everyone's friends are friends and it's kind of
right,
but on Twitter, we had a few people going like, oh yeah, the organisers will be creaming off the top of this, you know, there's a natural cynicism in some people about it, and like, how do you make sure that the £500 going to the right person? You know, how can you be sure they're genuine? How can you be? Well, the short answer is we can't.
Right.
You know, we can't. The organisations that obviously have been running and that are certified and whatever, obviously when people are coming to us via housing associations or the probation service or through charities, they'll definitely be vouched for. But sometimes, I admit, that we won't know.
And I guess that's why only members can nominate, because you're assuming if you want to be part of that group already, that says something about your integrity as a person.
It does. But I also think that it's really important that in this age where, in order to get your disability benefit, you have to go and sit in an industrial estate with a medical professional, even though, you know, you've got 7 saying you've got this condition, and prove to them that you're poorly enough to receive the benefits that you've been previously awarded. I feel like we need a system where we just go, do you know what, here you are, 500 quid, and if 1 in 24, 1 in 52, if 1 in 100 slips through our net and goes to somebody who might be a little bit on the meg, then it's £1.
Yeah.
It's £1 of your week.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like giving it to a homeless person and not really knowing whether that homeless person is genuine or not. You know, and it's like, and that's all it is. And if anything, that's my favourite part of it. That we don't want your paperwork. We don't need you to come.
Yeah, you don't have
to us and show us.
Or
show us your council tax bill or show us your rent arrears. You don't have to do that. You know, we'll go. If you've come to a friend and said, yeah, I need this, and then. So that kind of like unconditional generosity.
Yeah.
I mean, as I've got older, I've got really interested in a sort of kind of Buddhism. God, every sentence I speak, I sound more of a wanker, but I am really interested in it because of just this idea that you just the way that you are in the world and that you're connected to everything. So that every person's suffering is your suffering.
Absolutely.
And every person's triumph is yours, you know, and it's like an equanimity in that, you know, so like instead of just being like, this is my stuff and you know, just sharing, you know, and if that could become part of our culture again, just to be just a little bit more, you know, actually I've got enough and I'm willing to give a little bit extra more to make things a bit fairer, then that's like, that's the kind of society I want to live in.
Absolutely. To realise that we're far more similar than different to each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as it's a then.
It's an accident of birth that we are where we are.
Yeah,
it's like,
how
we're going to be born in
fortunate.
Eritrea or Syria, you know, it's like...
There but for the grace of God, you know.
Absolutely. You know, and you look at somewhere like Syria, you know, and I know that people think that Syria is like some strange backwater, some sort of Middle Eastern place that we don't know. But like, Aleppo was like Manchester. It was a bustling, cosmopolitan city where people lived and worked and partied. It was richly cultural, you know, it was a modern city. And it's like, nothing now. It's been wiped out. And that's like doing that to Manchester. It's Syria's second city. And the people from there are like the people from Manchester who are just like, well, that was our home.
Yeah.
And now where are we going to go? And and that's like, and that could have been you and I.
Yeah.
We could have just been born there. That would have been our lot.
Absolutely.
And instead, you know, however hard our lives can feel sometimes, and however much of a struggle it can be sometimes, you know, we're not, you know, with all our belongings and our children trying to get across a body of water on an overcrowded raft.
Yeah, absolutely. But collectively, when people feel, I think sometimes things can seem so overwhelming that people don't want to look, you know, and you wonder what on earth you can do. Yes. And it is a drop in the ocean, but this group shows collectively what you, I know we're talking monetary, but even so, the symbolism of what you can do.
Yeah, because it's more than the money, and it definitely is much more to do with that group identity.
Absolutely.
And it's like,
It's
like
so
you know, we
positive.
feel like we know each other because we're part of our group. We've got a little gang.
I've never met you before.
A little kindly gang. Yeah. It's that lovely, what a lovely team to be part of.
It really is. So for anybody watching who this has resonated with them or they're interested, how can they join or how can they find out about it?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at 500acts of 500acts.
Is it just 500 acts?
I think it's 500acts. At 500acts.
I can have a look at the
Slick. We also have the Facebook group, but the best way probably is to email us on kindness500@hotmail.com. Kindness500 digits at hotmail.com, and say that you'd like to join, and then we can send you the information of how to set up your standing order, and then we just either add you to the mailing list or add you to the Facebook page, and you'll get the weekly updates, and £1 just comes out of your account every week.
£1. It's just £1.
Yeah.
And what? Oh gosh, it's incredible. The Twitter handle is @500, as in 500 acts of.
Yes, I thought there was an off in there. Sorry, Chris, if you're watching. I know I'm doing a really bad job with the social media side. That's just your department.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, and
really
you
is. I've heard such wonderful things about you, and you didn't disappoint.
Thank you.
And thank you everybody for watching. There are more Fishing for the Truth videos and podcasts available if you head to my website, niafisher.com. That's it. Bye.